Just like in nature, our spiritual journey, our life, there's certain times when we kind of need to push ahead, and there's other times when we need to fall back. When we look at the seasons in nature throughout the whole year, it's pretty obvious which times are supposed to be for rest and which times are of big growth. We've said it before, inside the seasons, there are seasons as well. And there are these little pockets that can even come down to hours in your day of recognizing when to push forward and realizing when you need to take a step back. So if this is something that you've experienced on kind of being confused on not knowing when to push ahead and not knowing when to pull back, stick around, watch this full video, because we're going to talk about how we can connect better to this wisdom that we have within ourselves so that we can live in greater rhythm and flow. Let's talk about knowing when to kind of push through some resistance and when to fall back. Oftentimes, we're asked to take a step back because maybe things aren't quite ready for us. Or maybe there's just a divine timing element at play. Maybe there's more information and more knowledge that is ready to flow to us. I know that that's something that I experienced over the last week or so. I typically like to do videos once a week. I enjoy doing them, and it feels good to do them on a regular basis. However, I made a promise and a commitment to myself that I would follow my spiritual guidance when it was time to do a video, when it was time to create something, when it was time to do basically everything, that I would follow my guidance. And sometimes it can be really frustrated when I really want to do something and it might not be the right time. This can show up in our emotions like feeling frustrated or feeling blocked. Oftentimes, it's just not the right time. Last week, I actually did come out here and I sat about where I'm sitting now and I started to do the video. I was really excited to do it. And within just a few minutes, these huge bugs, one hit me in this ear and then I kind of shook it off. And then another one hit me in this ear and I heard, "Listen, just go for a walk today." So I immediately stopped recording, put my stuff away, and enjoyed the rest of the day, because that's what was intended for me that day. Even though my mind was a little frustrated for a second, I knew that in the long run, it was something that was really going to benefit me. And wouldn't you know, I ended up going through over the next couple of days of kind of this big purge. We just came off of a really powerful new moon, and I don't know about you, but it felt more like a full moon. And there was just kind of a lot of fatigue, a lot of rest that needed to happen. And as every time I surrender in this space, the clarity on the other side is amazing. I have a deeper insight. I have a deeper understanding. I've gone and collected more wisdom when we kind of do that rest and reflect in a deep dive in that surrender. When I was meditating this morning, and this is how I knew that today was the video, because oftentimes they'll show me like a vision, like it plays really beautifully for me, like a movie. I see this in the shamanic journeys I do for myself daily. And I was given the image of the ocean, and when beachcombers, people who enjoy going out on the beach in the early morning after the tide goes back out, looking for treasures. Now, you can't go beachcombing when it's high tide. There's no place to walk. There's no treasures. However, it's when the tide goes back out and the beach is left bare that we can find some of these treasures. Our spiritual journey can be just like that. There are moments, there are seasons, and there's this energy of kind of low and high tide. And I think it's really interesting too that some of the best beach combing is done after a big storm or after a new moon or a full moon, which is completely like we are too. Because oftentimes when we go through this ebb and flow of energy, it brings in so much wisdom and takes out what we might want to release. That our lives are meant to flow like the ocean, like the seasons, how nature shows us. It would make no sense, like I said, to try to go out and look for treasures during high tide. It wouldn't be safe to go out and look for treasures in the middle of a storm. How can you connect and really kind of learn to surrender and accept when, even in our daily life, from hour to hour even, surrender and recognize these moments of low and high tide? How can you learn to recognize and be able to take advantage of this energy? It reminds me when people have new babies, right? They always tell the mother, sleep while the baby's sleeping. When the tide's in, what action can you take while that's happening? You would take a beneficial action to the water being up. It might be ideal to do certain tasks while the tide is in, just like it might be more beneficial to do certain things when the tide is out. When we connect to this energy of flow, we are able to navigate our day more effortlessly. Many times in sessions when I connect with people, the things that they want to feel more of, myself included, is effortlessness, peace, flow, grace, and ease. The universe provides, spirit provides this energy to us. You can follow it, like I said, in nature, astrology, of these cycles of knowing when to move and when to fall back. How can you learn how to connect to these energies? It all starts with one step of learning how to connect more often, more frequently throughout your day to how you're feeling. Oftentimes, when I have sessions with people, we will do something called we set divine alarms, where we set maybe 6 to 10 different times on their phones of certain times throughout the day for them just to check in with themselves and take a breath. I know that this has been one of the most magical things that people come back and say they experienced, because these times that when we're in session, I just kind of close my eyes and take a breath and I just let spirit pick them. And it's amazing to me when they come back, the next week and be like, you wouldn't believe what happened when the alarm was going off. It helped me connect on a deeper level to myself. I was able to move through a situation through taking a deep breath and checking in with myself. So that's something that you can do. And you know what, maybe actually we'll put some times in this video that you can set over the next week. And you can start to connect on a more regular basis throughout the day on how you're feeling. So when we set these alarms and check in, we can ask a series of questions to really connect to how we're feeling. Because then in that observer position, that being curious, we're able to know how we're feeling and be like, gosh, I didn't even really realize I was frustrated until I kind of took a breath and checked in. Gosh, I didn't realize that I was hungry. I didn't realize that I needed to go for a walk. I didn't realize that I actually feel a little sad and disconnected right now. When you can start to learn to connect to yourself and how you're feeling more often, then you become very wise in noticing when you might be feeling out of balance. And then when you're feeling out of balance, you can look around and say, why am I feeling out of balance? Oh, because I'm pushing through something I don't need to be pushing through right now. Gosh, I haven't taken any time for myself today just to breathe. When you start becoming more aware of how you're feeling, you can start to make these pivots and navigate your day, your weeks, your life with that grace and ease that you're wanting to feel more of. Oftentimes, we ask Spirit to bring in these situations of effortlessness and grace and ease, but we forget that we have an active role in that too. How are you bringing more grace and ease and effortlessness into your day? I know that when I kind of surrendered and kind of rested over the last few days, that I knew that my body was needing rest. I knew that I was getting downloads of greater clarity and wisdom about some things that I'm going through in my life. I took the subtle cue. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes no matter how much you practice, it still can be kind of a fight, because in those moments, we're having to really override our conditioning. We were taught to go, 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 to push through everything since we were young children. It's been going on for generations and generations, and over time it seems like it's getting worse and worse, where everything is on a deadline. Everything has to be right now. And our outside world's reflecting that. We have more disease, we have more discontent, we have more burnout, we have more just feelings of overwhelm and disconnection, which is leading to many, many other things. This epidemic of loneliness that we're in, where we're not able to connect with each other anymore because we're so overwhelmed. When we can learn to surrender and connect back to ourselves more, we can get to that peace and ease quicker. But it's hard to override that conditioning. It takes real awareness. And you know what? Sometimes when I'm going through a deep transformation, it might take me all day to get there. All I know is the more practice I have, the faster it happens. And the more times I surrender to it and have this wonderful, what feels like a beneficial outcome on the other side of more peace, the more kind of evidence I can give my mind that says, no, actually surrender is the right move here. Rest and relax is the right move here. Because the last few times that we did this, I actually felt so much better. It takes a lot of courage to start to override some of this conditioning. And if you're watching my channel and watching this video here today, you're probably right on track of realizing that and well on your way. It does take practice, and it's not something that we master one and done. It is something that we do in every moment, in every day on this spiritual journey, and grow more and more. In this conditioning to override and push, my question to everyone is like, where are you going? What's the hurry? Well, the conditioning will tell you that there's all sorts of risks if you don't push through, that there's all sorts of horrible consequences. And on paper, in kind of the everyday world, might feel true. But there is no bigger sacrifice than your peace. When we push through, when we're not supposed to be, when we're supposed to be resting and reflecting, we're sacrificing that natural rhythm and flow that leads us to that peace. How can you connect on a deeper level with yourself? Don't you deserve that? That's ultimately what we all needed as children, was that moment to catch our breath when we were feeling big emotions. We've talked a lot about that in videos in the past, and I do in sessions too. When you were having big feelings, when you were feeling overwhelmed, when you were feeling frustrated, when you were having all the feelings, even huge, exciting joy, what did you need in that moment? Usually it was to stop and take a breath, to have someone connect with you and witness it with you, to savor that moment of joy or to be held in those moments of pain. What you needed in that moment was connection. So whether you're in the stage where the tide is out or the tide is in, one thing remains the same. Your presence and connection is needed in that moment to be able to observe, to know if the tide's in or out. Because when you know if the tide's in or out, you can make the best move for you in that moment. And that is what this spiritual journey is about, is to be able to navigate and flow with the natural rhythms of the universe for you to be able to experience the most peace, love, and joy possible for your journey, not the destination. Because that's where we started to go a little sideways, when we started to believe that we had to be somewhere instead of right here, right now, and being you. So if you'd like, let's pick a few times. So if you rise early or late, it doesn't matter. If one's too early or too late for you in the day, you can just disregard that. So let's set an alarm for 7:12 a.m., 9:18, 11:29, 1:13. Oh, a good fun one. 4:44, 6:18, and 9:01. So you can set these alarms on your phone, and when the alarm goes off, this is the short practice that you can do to check in with yourself. Now just make sure when your alarm goes off, if you're driving or whatever, you can keep your eyes open and just take the breaths, but just make sure that you're in a place where you're safely connecting if you want to close your eyes, and that you can take those moments to kind of reconnect from a real grounded place. So you'll start by taking your hand and putting it on your chest like we always do. We do this so that you can remember there's a real live human heartbeat, to connect to your body. Something very special happening underneath your hand. Your heart is beating to its natural rhythm and flow. And so as we take a breath, we connect to that heartbeat. And depending on how you're feeling, you may need to take more than a couple. You breathe in and out. And just ask the simple question: how do I feel in my body right now? What am I feeling? And follow that feeling. Maybe you hear, oh, my head hurts, or I'm feeling really excited and pumped up. And start the conversation of being curious and saying, your head hurts. Take a breath. How come your head hurts? And you might hear, I'm worried, I'm stressed, my back hurts. It might lead you to an emotion, or it might lead you to another sensation in your body. Or if you connect to that heartbeat and you're like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm feeling so pumped up. Yeah? What's exciting about this? And let that inner child, let your soul speak to you on why you're excited. Let your soul and your inner child speak to you on why you're feeling, how you're feeling. Start the conversation. Be curious. Everything you need to know about your journey and your life and your day and your minute and about yourself lies right underneath this hand. It only takes a moment to connect to it. We all want to be seen and heard. That is the human condition. How can we expect to be seen and heard from those around us if we're not seeing and hearing us? if we're not knowing and observing from this centered, grounded place of clarity, to be able to tell if the tide's in or out and what action to take to lead us to that place of effortless peace, grace, and ease. Because I know one thing, at least for me, and I bet you'll find this too. If you're in that flow and feeling peaceful and effortless and ease and things just feel graceful, it kind of doesn't matter what's happening around you because you already feel that peace. And when we're in that vibration of peace, our heart is open, and all those treasures that the ocean wants to bring to us appear. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to have a personal session with me to maybe feel into some things, to how you can connect on a deeper level with yourself so that you can have more wisdom, clarity, peace, visit my website, jenhuber.com, and we'll see you later.